And welcome back. This is the hot topic for this week. Last week we had Shivam on. Well, Shivam, welcome back.
Thanks, Kess.
It's the same time. We're recording this all at once.
I can pretend.
You can follow us. We do hot topics every beginning of the week. The Monday it comes out on Patreon early, and then on Tuesdays it comes out as the episode. Last week we did a huge deep dive that lasted much longer than we even expected into companions. Make sure to check that video out. It's awesome. Or audio if you're listening to this audio only. Go to YouTube to find all of that information. Please subscribe and like and all those good things. And you can follow me at Kess Wiley. Shivam?
You can follow me at Gearpuri Gears.
All of the spelling is below. Don't worry, I also couldn't spell that if someone paid me money to try doing that right now, and I interact with him every day.
Yeah, like you talk literally every day, Kessler. Come on.
Yeah, I can't spell my own name. What do we want from me? So you have a Magic podcast that you're now doing. You have a new one. Do you want to let everyone really quickly know about it?
Yeah, so I run a podcast called Casual Magic with Shivam, Bhatt. You can find it basically everywhere. I talk about casual magic and Commander and whatever interests me or my friends. Like it's been things everywhere from talking about elves with Kendra to talking about the color blue with Ethan Fleischer and talking about chaos magic with Ben Bateman.
Yeah, so one of your first episodes I think was with Ben, and we tried getting on, and I was
episode 2.
Oh, nice. So yeah, you guys.
My first actual episode.
Oh, awesome. And if you guys are missing Ben because he hasn't been on for 2 weeks because he's got a little bit of a cough, not that one though, make sure to go check him out. He on Shivam's podcast. He did a great job.
Probably put a link up or something.
Yeah, there will be a link down here. I'm pointing at it. I love pointing in videos to things that are on computer screens of other people. You should like and subscribe down over here. And you are on the Commander Advisory Group as well. You champion of Magic Trivia, the Masters of Honor thing we did in Vegas, all these great things. And in theme of your podcast, we wanted to talk about a little bit of just like playing Modern for fun, right? Is looking at a lot of people kind of look at competitive Magic, especially older formats, and come with the starting position or the attitude of if you're not trying to top 8 a GP with the deck you're playing it wrong. Or if you're not looking at the metagame top tier lists, then why are you playing Modern? And this podcast, since the beginning, one of my philosophies from the very beginning is, always look at a card and how to play this card, not why is this card bad, right? Like trying to figure out cool things you can do, have fun with it, pick a deck style you like and then stick with it. It doesn't matter that Infect is bad for 6 months because Fatal Push was printed. It doesn't matter that Jund is bad right now because just the best deck has a better value engine that's out there that outvalues you, or Tron's good, which is always Jund's least favorite time of the year. But if you stick to it and you get good with that deck and you have fun playing it, there are many strategies that if you're trying to top 8 a GP went from being casual, fun decks, Amulet of Vigor decks being a great example,
right, to
the best deck of the format. Or
even Death Shadow was like really scrubby.
Yeah, Death Shadow got better because cards got banned out of it. Famously. Lantern Control is another example. There are tons of examples of casual fun decks that were weird and off the wall.
Lantern Control, casual
Fair. Fun. It was casual. It wasn't fun. We had Zach Elsick on the podcast every top 16 of GP because his deck list was so weird that we had to talk to him. And he was like, oh yeah, I don't have a bad matchup. This is the best deck in Modern. And we were like,
It was for a while.
Are you sure? This deck doesn't have any cards in it. It's all Lantern. There's no real cards here. And then he won a GP the next weekend.
Yeah.
And we're like, I guess he's not wrong. I can't beat that.
It came out of nowhere and you hate life playing it.
Yep. But so like, and kind of the philosophy is like, not only can casual fun stuff win and eventually become good, but also this is a game. It's meant about having fun. 99% of people that are playing this game, including myself, are playing at FNMs, at store levels, online, and in ways that aren't necessarily like I'm trying to spike a GP, right? That's such a small percentage of how you play Magic. So looking at just those results and just the top end of gameplay versus trying to get just a deck style you like playing and something you have fun with, and having you on to kind of talk towards it. You're a well-known Elves player. That's, I think, been the go-to deck. We would be deck teching that.
Absolutely, since I discovered Modern.
At some point, I think we've done the deck tech though already at this point, so I think now we're talking about having fun in Modern because that's I think the greater message. And so, what is your experience? How do you feel about it?
Here's the thing, right? Like the original intent of Modern, aside from being like a tournament overextended version, was that, hey, we want you to be able to take your favorite standard deck and keep playing it, right? Like that's a current, like original kind of seed for what you do here. Is like you can take your favorite standard deck from history after 8th edition, whatever, and play with it. Or you can build your favorite tribal deck, or you can build your favorite weirdo deck with these combination cards. We all know what Modern is. But because of Modern's emphasis on tournaments and how much fun playing in GPs and stuff are, the kind of discourse around Modern has definitely been like, you're playing a named top level deck, or you're playing some weirdo brew and nobody cares about you in the back tables, right? And for me, the experience has been more like, so since I started playing Magic, I love elves. I love Lawn War elves. I love, Archdruid. I love putting out things. Like my favorite card in Magic is Dwynen's Elite. Well, my favorite card that's not Soul Ring, for instance, is Dwynen's Elite. And it's because
theme,
it's an elf that brings a friend.
You like making mana.
Dude, look, Heritage Druid is the greatest card of all time. So the thing, though, is that when I built this deck, I built it because I was like, hey, elves is really cheap. I've got a jillion Lana War elves and Findhorns and Mystics and whatever just sitting around. And the most expensive cards, I think, were like just getting canopies and like, Heritage Druids back in the day before they reprinted. But nonetheless, it's a deck that I can play. It's moderately competitive. It's good enough. It'll win a handful of times. If you disrupt me, I lose, whatever. But for me, the joy is I get to play with my favorite cards week in and week out. Nobody's banning things out of my deck because my deck is a tier 1.5, tier 2 deck. And it's just always available. It's always legal. It's like, as a Commander player, I hate losing my decks, right? Like I hate the idea that you're going to take my deck away, that in 6 months, Standard's going to rotate and this pile is going to be useless. Like I love playing in Kaladesh block. I love playing with Aetherworks Marvel and everything like that. Standard came around, bans came around, all this stuff went away and the deck is useless. But my Elves deck, I can take to an FNM. I can just jam my Elves deck against your Tribal Oozes deck or your what I like about low-level Modern is that people do things that they will brew weird cards with weird combinations that are fun, that are interesting, but they're not going to win a GP, right? Like you could build some Memnite combo decks, or you could build all these things that are almost like low-level Commander decks that are just like using cards from this entire 15-year span that are never going to beat a Tarmogoyf, but are going to be really, really fun for that hour or so that you're sitting and jamming with them. And I love that. I love the idea that, it bothers me so much that Modern has basically calcified itself into being a permanent high-level tournament format that high-level tournament players hate, right? Like whenever you listen to like an EFRO or something like that, these people are like, oh man, I don't want to play Modern. I don't want to have to think about a meta game with 800 decks in it and have to figure out and just play Inverter of Truth or whatever. And modern decks and modern tournaments have become boring to watch because they're always just, it's John.
I disagree on that.
It's like, huh?
I have disagreements on watching. Because from my perspective, I do think having recognizable decks is something that's useful for watching, right? The reason people love watching sports, for instance, is like I have no association or people associate with brands, right? If you're a Lakers fan, you're a Lakers fan in the 90s, you're a Lakers fan in the 2000s, you're a Lakers fan now, but you like the idea of what the deck is doing, right? In Modern, Jund could be a different build. You can have different cards in it. But you like having recognizable teams almost of these deck styles seeing play. I think it's fine that there are consistent high-level decks, right? I also... Yeah, sorry, continue with what you were saying, though.
Basically, my point, though, is that when you watch a Modern tournament, there's two halves to it. One is the beginning round, where it's all the weird brewers bringing out, the first time you ever saw the Insult Artifacts deck, for instance, which is just this is such a neat and weird idea. And then the second half where you watch established pros playing established decks and you're like, okay, I want to see the nuance of this burn matchup versus Death Shadow or Soul Sisters versus John, whatever it is. And that's also fun.
Yeah, I love the longevity. And Elves is a good example, right? Where you have longevity to that deck where you get to learn. It's not like when you tune into Standard, you're like, okay, I don't know what the metagame is. Often in a Standard tournament, you're going to see 3 decks the whole weekend, right? When I did the Twitch Rivals streaming thing, by the end of it, I never wanted to watch another Field of the Dead matchup again, another Black-White Vampire matchup again, or another Elf deck, not Elf. It was the Elemental deck.
Risen Reef Elemental
Tribal. It was right after M20 came out. And I wanted... by 12 hours of watching that Rivals tournament, I was like, I've seen these decks. All the decks are the exact same. How do I come up with nuance 8 hours into it on what the difference between this mono or black-white vampires matchup is like? And and versus Modern, where even though, yes, you see the decks you've seen for a long time, but the healthy versions of Modern are top 8s that are extremely diverse. Even in formats that are classically considered degenerate, which are like one card is seeing a lot of play, like the Delve era, the top 8 before all of the Delve cards were banned, there were 0 decks that were repeats in the top 8. There was one pod deck, one Jeskai Ascendancy deck, one
but
Storm
remember,
deck.
there was also this period where like every deck was like, oh, it's Bug Delver versus Rug Delver again. Like
that hasn't. Well, Bug Delver hasn't been a deck in Modern since like year 0.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know what I'm talking about, though.
Yes, like there are times where like but those are often when bannings are led, right? Like when Jund was 55% of the format.
Or it's like, hey, look, it's Splinter Twin versus Splinter Twin for the 85th time, right? Like, I get it. I mean, I miss Pod a lot. I'll be honest with you, I really, really miss Pod. Mm-hmm. I want to bring Siege Rhino back. Not gonna lie, but the thing is, though, like playing Modern on like casual tables and stuff is fun. Is really fun. I love playing Modern. I love playing these. I mean, I love my Elves deck. I also love playing Tron. I love playing, like the deck I'm building right now is Primetime to build Volakut, like Scapeshift deck, because Scapeshift is awesome. It is so cool. I mean, these are decks that are just like things that I don't get to play in Commander. There are things that I don't get to play in Standard, and yeah, fine. It's not going to be a top tier anytime soon. I can't afford to build a Hardened Scales deck. I can't afford to build a fit. I mean,
Valakut decks are regularly top tier. I mean, right now I would argue Valakut and Amulet Vigor decks are two of the main, with Uro, right? Especially the probably the best deck in the format.
Oh man, I haven't even thought about Uro. I really want to build a Primetime deck with Uro in it now. Oh god, but it's just like that's so much fun, and it can be casual or it can be competitive. And it doesn't feel like my Elves deck is a very basic stock Elves deck, right? Like it's got all of your things. It's very beatable, but it's a delight to play. And that's really all you can ask for.
Well, and not only is it fun and at most FNMs you'll be fine, but the amount, like I have gone to so many Modern tournaments where people like will just like talk crap about the deck that then that afternoon wins the tournament. Like the
Magic player's gonna Magic play.
Right, exactly. We're like, I like pros, some of which are now like multiple Pro Tour top 8s. Now work at Wizards. Even like friends of mine have, like, I remember in GPLA being like, Merfolk is a terrible deck. Why would anyone play this deck? It sucks. And then it won that GP.
That was so much. I watched that finals in the airport and I was just like, Merfolk won. Holy crap. But I mean,
and like that's like Elves is the same deal, right? Elves has won two Modern GPs. Merfolk has won 2 Modern GPs. Like these are decks that if you have the right metagame, like if you're trying to win with your pet deck, you can. And it matters more that you get good at it than necessarily how metagame specific or expensive that deck is.
And one of the things is like when you look at a lot of these top tier high level decks that are like Jund or whatever, they're not really thematic. They're just kind of like, I mean, Jund has a theme and stuff, but at a lower level Modern, you can play things like Goblins. You could play your Dragons deck with Sarkhan. You could play Super Friends. You could play all of these really good, cool decks that draw from this entire gigantic pool that are not going to be meta, that are not going to win. I mean, they're not going to beat like Reduke in top 8 of a GP, but they're going to be hella fun to play. Right. And I think Modern's got so many cards available that people should be able to explore and expound and just go at it, man. Stop stigmatizing casual Modern.
That's kind of the point, right? Like, and obviously know your intent. If you're trying to win a GP, if you're grinding every weekend and that's your goal and you're going to PTQs and you're driving to every store in town every weekend, this is a different conversation, right?
This is not the conversation for you.
Then you're looking to metagame and you're looking to pick the best deck. And I do honestly believe you should Corey Burkhardt it and just get really good at a specific strategy in Modern. I think you're going to be benefited every single time to be good at a good deck than to know the metagame by playing every deck and just try and pick a deck that weekend that you're going to be good at. You're much more likely to spike a tournament playing the deck you know well. It's one of the reasons Jund players are going to Jund. Like, that's a joke that like Jund is a bad deck but wins because Jund players haven't stopped playing Jund in 7 years, and so they just know the matchup. They know every deck they're going to play against. The deck is classically 60% against the field because they have Thoughtseize times 8 in the deck, and so they're just gonna win once in a while, and they top 8 every top 8 because there's always a Jund player that's gonna Jund. And like, but that's a benefit, right? Getting good at your deck and knowing the way the deck works is a better strength in Modern, which goes for both casual decks and tiered decks. So you can pick something that you have fun with. You can pick Elves, you can pick Soul Sisters, you can pick land tax, and just stick to it. And that is a much more likely way to, if you're trying to win a GP, benefit. But if you're trying to just have fun in F&M, try having fun, do weird stuff, play 4 Loams and 4 Ayula's Influence and 4 Gitrogs and try going off that way. Or or play like, I think that like there's such the idea of like, why would I not try and do something new? And I think in Modern you have all of the time to do that. And unless you're at a GP trying the top 8, even if you're going to GP for fun, just try a deck you like. It's not it's better that you're having fun at the event. This is a game. We're playing a game, and and unless like, and do your best.
I mean, you could build an Aristocrats deck. Like, you could build 25 different flavors of Aristocrats in Modern and just go to town with that.
My least favorite loss of all time was at that same GP, Los Angeles, because I like was ready. I metagamed. I like built a deck where I was testing it against the like top 12 decks of the format. My sideboard was perfectly tuned. I had my matchups on down, but I had no buys. And so round 1 against Goblins, lost. Round 2 against the deck that was playing 4 Collected Company and 8 copies of Blood Artist between Blood Artist and the new Ally one. And he Collected Company twice, and he had the Zulaport Cutthroat, and had 4 of them in play. And literally anything I did just lost me the game. I just died because if one of them died, I got domed for 12. And I was like, why? This deck isn't real. Why am I losing? And that's kind of the point too, right? Like, you also always have the ability to like, you don't like, if you want to win in Modern, having a weird off the wall strategy has potential. If you want to have fun in Modern, playing weird off the wall strategies is fun and active. And the other piece of this, and this is the one that, like, you know, we mentioned the 2 complaints people have of Modern the most, and the second one is the expense. And that's another place where this kind of applies, right? You don't need fetch lands to have fun in Modern. You need fetch lands if you're going to play Jund at a top table where Blood Moon is good.
Jund or Death Shadow or something, of course you need fetches.
And I would even
Elves, you don't need fetches.
And I would argue right now more than ever before, fetches are less important because Blood Moon's terrible right now because of Astrolabe. Or Labe, because of snow decks being around, playing cards that are good against decks that don't run fetch lands classically aren't that good. So just play 4 Hollowed Fountains and 4 Glacial Fortress and like a filter land and some basics. Right, exactly. And have a good time.
Also, Ninjas is great right now if you want to play on a casual Magic. Modern Horizons just gave you a whole group of them.
Oh, and ignore Modern Horizons. Did you see the Octopus? The new one? There's the new Mutate Octopus. It's so sweet. It's a blue 1.
It's a 1 blue for a Octopus 2/2. It's got Flash and Mutate. Whenever a creature deals combat to a player, draw a card. So
what's it called?
It's called Sea Dasher Octopus.
Sea Dasher Octopus. It's an octopus. It's going to get you.
Yeah,
and
it's
draw
basically
cards.
Ophidian, the octopus with Mutate.
Well, like I love the design space that Wizard has realized is dope of the Flash blue 1 thing that you can for 2 mana do something else with it. between the fairy from not Ixalan or Kaladesh. Oh man, I'm tired now. Eldraine. And the cycling guy from Amonkhet that lets you kind of like trigger counter spells instead of playing the 3/1 flyer. Marshall's putting it here. You can see it here. This is the card.
You know what I would play in Modern right now if I could? I would be building a cycling deck with all the Amonkhet stuff and Ikoria stuff. With what the heck was that card that gives you like 2/2s when you cycle something?
The old one or the new one? The old one.
There was one from like Amonkhet
made
or
drakes, right? Made the two flying drakes.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Well, and there's now the Fast and the Furious, gotta go fast, drifting, astral drift, but like the promo literally had a card from Kaladesh in it. There was the cycling astral drift.
Oh yeah, that was literally astral drift.
No. It's astral drift. What's the original one? Astral Slide. So astral drift.
I was like, there's an astral drift that's not astral drift?
Yeah, no, astral drift. Literally, astral drift is available. Marshall has a really good list. Hopefully, he'll also post it in the comments of this episode for an astral drift modern deck that, like, literally we played like 6 hours just at my apartment, me testing matchups against it, and it was a blast. It's a blast to play against. It's a great example of kind of what we're talking about today, that you could do cool and fun stuff and just have fun with it. I mean, one of the reasons I just travel with some version of Jund and some version of Jeskai with me wherever I go is because that is the best matchup I found 1v1, right? Like it's really fun to play against each other. They both interact with each other. There's getting each other. You can draw cards. You both have man lands you go after each other with, and it's a lot of interaction for a game. So it's a great deck to just like hand someone, be like, okay, you want to play modern because people want to play modern with me. Let's play modern. And I think that just focusing on ways that you have fun is going to be a much better prioritization.
Did you see the combo that came out with Luminous Broodmoth from Ikoria, the mythic moth that whenever a creature you control without flying dies, return to the battlefield under its owner's control with flying?
It's in Pioneer, right? There's a Pioneer even legal one. It's Luminous Broodmoth.
Yeah, because that and Solemnity from Amonkhet or from Hour of Devastation, which is like your things don't get counters on them.
Yep, that's that's the like new kitchen finks of. I don't think it's as good as like Inverter for Pioneer, but for Modern, it's interesting. Yeah, it's cool, and I think the way they do it in Pioneer is they use the Goblin that you can tap and sack it to do 1 damage. And that has haste.
I mean, there's like any number of weirdo things you could do.
Well, because you want like 3 cards, right? And the problem with Solemnity in Modern has always been that it doesn't do anything. It doesn't, and it's not a creature. And then you need a sack outlet too that also doesn't do anything. Like all 3 pieces.
I saw somebody use Altar of the Brood, the one that mills people, but that doesn't work because that was, I think, banned, wasn't it? Because of Hogak.
No. Altar Brood wasn't banned. That was Bridge from Below. Which is great.
So then Altar is still there. So then there you go.
Bridge in Modern. Yeah, Altar is still there. Yeah, I would say I like the damage dealing one with the Goblin. That's kind of like because you get it back and you do it. But there's a lot of cool things.
I'm a Commander player. I go for the weird convoluted way.
That Moth is sweet anyways. Like that, there's so much value gained by just having your things die and then they gain flying. Like they're better.
They come back from the dead with wings.
Yeah, it's not like what's it called? It's not like Persist where they get worse when they come back. It's they're strictly better cards.
Yeah, I guess they come back and they now fly.
If your opponent has Hurricane, it sucks, but that's like not a thing.
Yeah, who's running Hurricane? I mean, look, dude, this is a 3/4 flyer for 4 already. Well, that's great.
Yeah, that card
is. And then your stuff just dies. And if you're playing like some kind of weirdo Mardu aristocrat and you're just pitching all your things to the graveyard and they all come back with wings and then find some way to give them haste and just ruin your life.
I mean, like it's just even as a top end, like what's cool about that card too is like it kind of can do a little bit of what Revelark would do in the old pod decks where it comes in as a protection for your cards that can combo, but also just makes them better and then allows your other combos to maybe happen later on, right? Like you can still Melira or Devoted Druid combo. This just makes it so if they try killing your Devoted Druid, it comes back with flying. So I definitely think there's a lot of cool things out there that are just possible. And this set seems really powerful. I'm like really excited about all the cool things that it's going to do. And it does stuff in ways that's new and weird. We had a whole episode last week about how Companion is a thing. I'm excited. I'm excited about the future of I'm excited about the future of Modern with this stuff and all the cool fun things you can do. I'm excited for people to mess around. I had someone send me a Jeskai Geist list that wants to just put mutations on Geist because he's not a human. He's a spirit. I'm excited for like just all of the cool cycling decks that are possible. Every time cycling comes out, I mean, at a bare minimum, you have animate dead decks that are going to be out there.
You saw the Elemental Cat thing, right? The Savai Thundermane, that's a Boros 2-drop that whenever you cycle a card, pay 2, and it does 2 damage to target creature and you gain 2 life.
No, that's really cool. Yeah, like they have a lightning. Great. Yeah, there's like a bunch of really cool stuff out there, and I'm really hyped. I don't want to do too much predicting what could happen because literally between now, which is Tuesday, and next Monday when this video, or next Tuesday when this video comes out,
half the set will come out.
There's a ton of stuff, so I'm excited to see what powerful stuff is. Thank you so much for coming on. It was awesome. Thanks so much for having me. It was really fun. As a wrap up, I do have fun, everybody. That's the point of Magic, be it in Commander, be it in Modern, be it in Standard, be it in whatever wacky format you can come up with. In Modern, play the strategy you want to play. Like, don't worry about the metagame. I don't think, especially, I don't think that's what you want to be doing. I think if you're going to have fun with it, and even if you're trying to win GPs, there's a lot of data that shows getting good at the deck that you love is going to be better service to you than trying to metagame and just pick the best deck of a format. And this is a game. We're here to have fun.
Modern, of all the 60 card formats, best rewards you for picking a deck that you love to play instead of picking a deck that's just good to play. Like, Modern is a place where you can definitely just take your favorite deck and just work it. As long as your favorite deck just doesn't happen to be like Splinter Twin, I think you'll be fine.
Yep, and even Splinter Twin, like Blue Moon is a deck. There's a reason that multiple top 8s of Pro Tours have been won. Right? Yeah, you can't do that. I have taken a Kiki-Jiki Resto Angel deck to a tournament and loved my life doing so. So thank you so much, Shivam. Can you let everyone know where they can find you again, just as we sign off?
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at GearUpWardGears, or you can find my podcast, Casual Magic, anywhere podcasts are sold, or at the Greenlit Podcast Network at greenlitpodcast.com.
And once again, thank you to all of our Patreons. You make the hot takes and the main episodes happen every week, and we couldn't do this without you. There's a bunch of new tiers and stuff going on there, so if you guys haven't checked out the Patreon in a while, definitely check it out. We kind of revamped the whole thing. If you are wanting to watch the previous episode, make sure to check it out. Also check out, we were just on Tolarian Community College. We did the whole episode where we broke down the top 8 decks in Modern, basically, and kind of how they win. It was like a great Modern primer. So if you're looking for just a top end look on what does Modern look like and how do you play, it's a great place to check that out. And we're really thankful for him having us on. And thank you once again, Marshall, for making all this work. And eventually Ben will be back, I promise.